That famous German car sound? It's getting quieter. Big changes are happening in the car world, and China's electric cars are a huge part of it. It's not just a little competition. It's like a giant wave that could wash away Germany's spot as the top car maker. For a long time, German cars like Volkswagens, BMWs, and Mercedes were known as the best. They showed how smart German factories were, but now things are different. These big German companies have a tough fight ahead. This change could really shake up who makes the best cars in the world. So, here's the big question. Can Germany change fast enough to win against China's electric cars? Or will China become the new king of the road? It's not even a question anymore. China is a big deal in electric cars now. But how did they get so big so fast? Think of it like this. While Germany was still working on their old kinds of engines, China was starting fresh with electric ones. One big reason is that the Chinese government really helped out. Imagine the whole country working together, putting lots of money into making electric cars. This helped Chinese companies build lots of factories really fast and get all the important parts they needed for batteries. But it's not just about money. Chinese companies also sell their electric cars for less. People see that they can get a good electric car from China for a lower price than a German one. Plus, China is making their cars better and better really quickly. They're coming up with new battery ideas and cool software for the cars, sometimes even better than what the German car companies have right now. This mix of government help, cheaper prices, and new ideas has made China a powerful force in electric cars, like a dragon breathing down Germany's neck. It's not even a question anymore. China is a big deal in electric cars now. But how they get so big so fast? Think of it like this. While Germany was still working on their old kinds of engines, China was starting fresh with electric ones. One big reason is that the Chinese government really helped out. Imagine the whole country working together, deciding that electric cars were the future. They didn't just say it, they put their money where their mouth was. The government gave lots of money to companies making electric cars. This meant these companies could build huge factories, buy the best equipment, and hire lots of smart people. It was like the government gave them a super head start. This help also meant Chinese companies could find and buy all the important stuff they needed, like the materials to make batteries. They made sure they had a steady supply, which is super important. But it's not just about money from the government. Chinese companies also sell their electric cars for less. They figured out ways to make good electric cars without charging as much as the German companies. People see that they can get a good electric car from China for a lower price than a German one. And that makes a big difference when people are deciding what to buy. Plus, China is making their cars better and better really quickly. They're not just making cheap cars. They're coming up with new ideas all the time. They're making batteries that last longer and charge faster. They're also putting really cool and easy-to-use technology inside the cars, like the screens and the software. Sometimes, the technology in Chinese electric cars is even newer and better than what the German car companies have right now. This mix of the government helping, cheaper prices that are hard to ignore, and new ideas coming out all the time has made China a powerful force in electric cars, like a dragon breathing down Germany's neck and making everyone else in the car world take notice. So, while China was sprinting towards the electric future, what was happening in Germany, the traditional heartland of automotive innovation? You could say Germany held onto the past a little too tightly. For years, their focus remained on perfecting the internal combustion engine, those powerful gasoline and diesel engines they were so famous for. It was a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but the world was changing fast. This meant German automakers were slower to fully embrace electric technology. They weren't as quick to invest in the research and development needed to create cutting-edge electric vehicles like their Chinese competitors. This hesitation also showed up in the technology inside the cars. Modern electric vehicles aren't just about the battery. They're like computers on wheels. And this is where some German automakers have struggled. Developing the complex software that runs these cars, from the navigation systems to the battery management, has been a challenge. We saw examples of this, like Volkswagen's difficulties with their software development. It's a completely different skill set than building traditional engines, and it's an area where Chinese tech companies, often partnering with their car manufacturers, have a real advantage. Adding to these woes, the German government, at one point, offered money to people who bought electric cars to encourage adoption. But these subsidies or financial incentives have been reduced. This change has made electric cars more expensive for everyday people in Germany. As the research points out, when those subsidies went away, sales of EVs in Germany actually dropped significantly. So, while China was aggressively pushing forward with government support and lower prices, Germany was facing a slowdown, partly due to their own policy changes. This combination of a slower start, software struggles, and shifting government support has put Germany in a tough spot as the electric vehicle race heats up. The rubber is really hitting the road now, and the consequences of this electric shift are becoming crystal clear in the financial reports of German automakers. It's one thing to talk about technology and innovation, but the bottom line is market share and profit, and that's where Germany is feeling the pinch. The research is showing a worrying trend. German automakers are simply selling fewer cars, especially in China, which was once their biggest and most reliable market. Think about that. The very place where they used to dominate is now seeing their sales numbers decline, sometimes quite dramatically. This isn't just a slight dip. We're talking about significant drops in the number of cars they're moving off the lots in China, as Chinese brands gain more and more traction. This drop in sales has a direct impact on their bottom line. We've seen profit warnings issued by major players like BMW and Mercedes-Benz. These aren't companies used to issuing profit warnings, and it signals a real concern within the industry. When sales go down, profits follow, and that puts pressure on the entire operation. To combat this, German automakers are being forced to implement cost-cutting measures. We're hearing about efforts to reduce expenses, streamline operations, and become more efficient. Volkswagen, for example, has even discussed the possibility of factory closures in Germany for the first time, a truly significant and concerning development. These are drastic measures that highlight the severity of the financial strain they are under. The pressure from Chinese competition isn't just about bragging rights. It's directly impacting German factories and the people who work in them. As sales decline, there's less need for production, which can lead to reduced output at German plants. This can ripple through the entire supply chain, affecting parts manufacturers and other related businesses. The threat of job losses becomes very real in this scenario. When major automakers start talking about cost-cutting and potential closures, it creates uncertainty and anxiety for thousands of workers and their families. The economic battlefield isn't just about balance sheets and stock prices. It's about the livelihoods of people who have built their careers in this industry. The financial strain caused by this intense competition is a tangible and growing concern for Germany. For decades, the words German engineering meant top-notch quality and cutting-edge technology. But in the fast-moving world of electric vehicles, that reputation is being tested. Think of it like a race where Germany had a big head start with traditional cars, but now the electric car race is on, and other countries, especially China, are catching up really fast. One of the biggest challenges for German automakers is keeping up with the speed of innovation coming out of China. It's not just about making an electric motor, it's about the whole package. The batteries, the software, and all the cool features people expect in a modern EV. When you look at what Chinese EV companies are offering, they often have really advanced technology that's drawing in customers. We see examples of this in battery technology, where Chinese companies are often leading the way in making batteries that last longer and charge faster. The software inside the car is another key area. People want their car to be connected, easy to use, and have all the latest features, just like their smartphones. This is an area where some German automakers have been playing catch-up. It's like they're really good at building the car itself, but the brains inside, the software, is where they're facing a steeper learning curve. But it's not game over for German engineering. They know they need to step up their game, and they're starting to invest heavily in research and development. This means putting more money into finding new technologies and improving their existing ones. We're also seeing German companies forming partnerships with other tech companies, sometimes even with Chinese companies, to share knowledge and speed up innovation. It's like they're saying, okay, we need to work together to get ahead. The competition is fierce, and the importance of having the latest and greatest technology in the electric vehicle market can't be overstated. For German automakers to stay relevant, they need to prove they can still be leaders in innovation, not just rely on their past reputation. The question is, can they close this innovation gap quickly enough to stay in the race? Building a car, especially an electric car, isn't just about one company doing everything themselves. It's a massive global effort involving tons of different parts and materials coming from all over the world. This complex network is called a supply chain, and it's an area where Germany is facing some real challenges, particularly when it comes to China. Think of it like this. To make electric car batteries, you need special ingredients like lithium and cobalt. Right now, China is a major player in processing these raw materials and manufacturing the batteries themselves. This means German automakers, like many others around the world, rely on China for these crucial components. This reliance creates a vulnerability. If something happens to disrupt that supply, maybe a political issue, a trade dispute, or even something like a pandemic that shuts down factories, it can really impact Germany's ability to build electric cars. We've already seen how global events can cause shortages and delays in getting parts. And this dependence on China for key battery components makes German automakers susceptible to these disruptions. It's like having to rely on another country for a vital ingredient in your recipe. If they can't supply it, you can't make the dish. Recognizing this vulnerability, there's a growing push for diversification. This means German companies are looking for ways to get their materials and components from other sources, not just relying so heavily on China. They're exploring partnerships with companies in other countries and even looking at investing in their own domestic production of batteries. Building a more resilient supply chain is about not putting all your eggs in one basket. It's about having different options so that if one source is disrupted, they have others to fall back on. This global supply chain showdown isn't just about economics. It's about security and ensuring a stable future for the German automotive industry. They need to find ways to secure their supply of critical resources and reduce their overdependence to weather future storms. The struggles within Germany's automotive sector aren't happening in isolation. They send ripples throughout the entire German economy and even across Europe. Think of the auto industry as a giant engine. When it sputters, lots of other parts start to feel the strain. One major area of concern is the impact on German suppliers. These are the companies that make everything from the seats and the headlights to the intricate electronic components that go into cars. Many of these suppliers are small and medium-sized businesses, the backbone of the German economy. If the big automakers are selling fewer cars, they need fewer parts, which means less business for these suppliers. This can lead to financial difficulties, and in a worst-case scenario, even bankruptcies for these smaller companies. It's a domino effect that can quickly spread. Then there's the very real threat of job losses. The automotive industry is a major employer in Germany, providing jobs for hundreds of thousands of people, directly and indirectly. If production slows down or factories close, those jobs are at risk. And it's not just the people on the assembly line. It affects engineers, designers, and everyone involved in the process. These job losses can have a significant impact on local communities and the overall German economy. People without jobs have less money to spend, which affects other businesses, creating a downward cycle. Finally, the challenges in the automotive sector raise questions about Germany's position as the economic powerhouse of Europe. For years, Germany's strong manufacturing base, particularly its car industry, has been a major driver of its economic success. If this key sector falters, it can weaken Germany's overall economic strength and potentially impact its leadership role within the European Union. As the research highlighted earlier, Germany's struggles can have ripple effects across Europe, affecting trade, investment, and job creation throughout the continent. So, the stakes are high. The challenges facing German automakers aren't just about cars. They're about the health and stability of the entire German economy and its standing in Europe. So, where does this leave Germany's automotive industry? It's clear they're at a critical crossroads. The rise of China's electric vehicles has presented a formidable challenge, exposing vulnerabilities in innovation, supply chains, and market competitiveness. To rebound, German automakers need to aggressively embrace the electric future, investing in cutting-edge technology and securing diversified supply chains. They must also find ways to manage costs and adapt to the changing demands of the global market. The question isn't whether they can do it, but whether they can act swiftly and decisively enough. What does the future hold for that iconic Made in Germany label in the automotive world? Can they reclaim their position as the undisputed leaders, or will the electric revolution permanently reshape the landscape? Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think? Can Germany steer itself back to the forefront of the auto industry? Or are the challenges too significant to overcome? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this analysis insightful, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like. To delve even deeper into the forces shaping our world, don't miss our recent video, FDA's disastrous approval, Big Pharma Panics, exposes decades of deception. It's another critical look at industries facing immense pressure and change. Thanks for watching.